Hello, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Westerly. My name is Ben Barber, and I am very excited. You might or might not know who I am. I've been spamming your Facebook feeds for the last year, and I am so sorry. That's not going to slow down anytime soon, though. So I'm very excited to be introducing this new show, and I want to take a second before we start to introduce my co-host, the host of the show, who is simply put one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my entire life. He is a very good friend of mine from high school. We did not go to high school together. He was a year, 5 years young, 4 years, whatever it was. We just missed each other, but we did do a lot of work together. And I'm so excited to, for those of you who do not know him, to introduce you to him, because he is one of the most genuine, uh, hardworking, nicest, smartest individuals that I know. As soon as I started to reconnect with him last summer, I immediately wanted him to do a show because he is so knowledgeable, well-spoken, and can do and wants to do a lot of good in our community. So I can't wait to introduce you to my good friend, Michael Niemeyer. Niemeyer, how's it going, man?
It's going great. How are you doing?
I'm so excited to be doing a show with you.
Yeah,
I'm doing well.
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea. I'm glad you brought it up to me, and here we go.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm very excited. Tell us some things that you want to talk about on the show in general. So it's called This Week in Westerly. We're going to be focusing locally, and tell people your ideas for the show.
I was thinking we're in a very long-term crisis right now. People have been locked in their homes for about a year, and as we come out, I want Westerly to have a feeling of renaissance. I want Westerly to have a feeling that everything's being reborn and we are a community again. And in order to do that, I thought something that might be helpful is for there to be a platform where everyone can come on, pitch their little corner of Westerly, whatever institution or business or whatever you have going on, um, to the community. And that way everyone knows what's going on and everyone knows who their neighbors are and everyone can get together when we can finally get out of this and know where to go and where to have a good time and who to turn to. That's it. It's a show about learning who your neighbors are and what's up in Westerly.
That's so important, right? Getting to know your neighbors and getting to know the things that are going on in town, so that we can all be a part of it and that we can all be a part of building a better future. So I think that that's wonderful. You used a phrase last night when we were on the phone that I absolutely loved. You said that we're introducing Westerly to itself, or
Yeah.
reintroducing Westerly to itself in a lot of ways. And I think that that's fantastic. There are some news stories that you wanted to cover at the top of the show. Have at it.
Sure. Just a couple of local interest things going on. We have uh, the new announcement that on April 19th, everyone's going to become eligible for the vaccine. I know a lot of folks were worried about that because it meant that people who might have a greater need for the vaccine were to be competing with folks who don't have a greater need for the vaccine. But Governor McKee put out a statement that before that happens, people over 50 will get their shot first at scheduling an appointment. Um, how do you feel about that, Ben?
I feel so. The pandemic obviously has hit me and my family pretty hard.
Yeah.
And my mom passed away from COVID on Christmas. And um a lot of my family has been in the nursing home this entire year. Uh, so it's been rough. We at my house have taken everything as you have for the various reasons. Like, we're not leaving the house, and we're going to the full extent of the precautions. So for the vaccine news, I think that it's hope, and I've been fortunate enough with Governor McKee and with the people at RI Elder Info to reach out to every municipality and sort of focus on how to get the word out to the older population, to the seniors, about how to get their vaccines. And there's a lot of availability right now if you know where to look. And if you
Yeah.
don't know where to look, please go to the portal. Please go to covid.ri.gov or whatever. I'll look it up and put it on the
There's,
screen and
I
in the
think there's
chat.
I think there's vaccinateri.gov.
There is vaccinateri.org. Walmart in Westerly is now giving vaccines, and that is huge. I believe that there are openings for appointments right now at Walmart. So I have extended family that have gotten their vaccines at CVS in Westerly. There are so many points where you can get it.
Yeah.
So please keep trying. And if there's a list, I had two family friends who are in their 60s who were trying to get a vaccine, and I said that I would help. And then the next day they said, "Hey, we were on a waiting list for CVS and we got it. So we don't need it. We got our first shot yesterday."
Okay.
Wonderful,
Very good.
So I think that the availability right now for vaccines is they are there if you look in the right places for them. And if you need help looking in the right places, contact you can send me a message. You can go to vaccinateri.org. You can go to the portal. You can check Walmart. You can check CVS. You can go to RI Elder Info, and they have a full list. And you can call the senior center. There's also a PSA that we did with Amy from the emergency management and Chief Lacey. So all of the information on how to get it at your local municipality site is there. But these pharmacies are readily available. So there's, you got to keep trying, but you can get it. So I think that there's a lot of hope with the vaccine right now. And it's honestly, it's exciting, right? Like there's hope for the first time,
Yeah, it
you
is.
know,
And
that's
one
a
of the
different
things,
feeling.
you touched on it a little bit there, but one of the things I've loved to see is younger folks helping older folks get these appointments, because so many of them are online. So much of it is difficult to manage because you got to be constantly refreshing or
Mhm.
checking at just the right hours of the day. And I've seen a lot of folks our age reaching out to folks who might not have an easy time of that, and
Right.
that's been a hopeful sense of community. I think right here at the
Absolutely.
end, just as we transition into getting all this done.
Yeah.
Um, the other little blip I wanted to bring up was DEM is hiring for the summer. Um, they're doing lifeguards. They're doing park rangers, attendants. And if you're interested in that, you can just go to riparks.com/employment. I know when we were young, that was kind of a dream job of a lot of teenagers, and it lived up to the hype. It really, it was something folks really enjoyed. So, riparks.com/employment if you're interested in that, or
Awesome.
if you know a kid who's interested in that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to speaking of keeping communities together and inspiring hope. Our first guest today is someone that I know very well, but so do you, and I think that the introduction would be better coming from you. So why don't you take that away?
Sure. I'd like to introduce to everyone our first guest ever on the show, Father Sunil Chandy. He is a graduate of Princeton Theological Seminary, and he's the rector at our Christ Episcopal Church here in Westerly, a cornerstone of the community. We're lucky to have him here today, here this week in Westerly. So, Father, why don't you come on out?
Hi, Michael. Hi, Ben. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good.
I
It's so good to be with you.
It's good to be with you too. It's great to have you. I wanted to check in because I know you're in quarantine right now. I wanted to make sure you're okay.
Yeah. No, we're fine. So what happened was we had my son, who's in college at Siena College in Albany. He came back home one weekend, and then the following weekend, that weekend he went back. He found that his friends brought in some other friends who had the COVID virus,
Oh,
and then all of a sudden he was in danger of, he was exposed. And so he came back. They actually told him to come back home. And then he drove the 3 hours. And then Thursday night he came here. We put him in isolation because my wife knows what to do about these type of things. And then we had him in our bedroom with his own bathroom. And we were wearing masks throughout the day. And then the next day he took a test, and then Saturday he was tested positive. So he was in isolation. And then in the meanwhile, when you test positive, everyone in your family has to be quarantined. Everyone who doesn't have the vaccine or hasn't been vaccinated. So my other son and I quarantined ourselves, and that quarantine should end after 10 days, which is about the 22nd, but 14 days is when we want to kind of make sure. So we're kind of self-imposed a quarantine for about until the 26th, but we're fine so far.
that's really good to hear. Sorry all that's happened to you, but boy, am I boy, am I glad to hear everyone's okay.
Everyone is fine. The only thing I have to do now, every day, I have to cook his breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh, no.
Teaching me servant ministry. That's for sure.
Oh no, you got a young kid again, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
no, I thought once they got to college, I'm free. I get to do what I need to do, but they keep coming back.
just when you think you're out, they reel you back in. Oh no.
No,
So much for your plans, Father Sunil.
I know.
Um, yeah, let's talk a little bit about what Christ Church is and what Christ Church has been doing and what you guys have been doing in the community.
Well, we've been doing a lot of stuff, but I first want to just thank you for doing this type of show. I think it's really good to have a show that sums up what's happening in Westerly through the week. And then as you continue to engage and help people to find more information, that's beautiful. I mean, that's the work of transformation. And I love I love your ethos. I was listening to it. I said, we want to know who our neighbors are, and then we want to tell you what's up in Westerly, and that's beautiful. What are the best way to kind of get the positive, hopeful news out there? And then you said that you were. I love it, Michael, when you said you wanted to have a renaissance, a rebirth in the community, and that actually is. When you talk about rebirth, when you talk about labor, when you're a father, and when you have a child, or your wife or your spouse has a child, and there's this long period of waiting, and then you're kind of anxious. You don't know what the future holds, and then all of a sudden the baby comes out, and there's birth, there's life, there's new life. And I think Westerly is been in a 12-month labor type of situation. We're not knowing exactly what's going to happen, how's it going to happen. All we know is we're just kind of waiting. And then and as these vaccinations happen, Ben, thank you for telling us that information. As the vaccinations happen, there's going to be a rebirth. There's going to be something new and powerful and joyful,
Yeah. I can't wait for Westerly to have the opportunity to step out into the sunshine, and I just want to give a chance for that to be as great an opportunity as possible. And thank you so much for coming on and being a part of that.
Problem. I love what you also said about hope. That is so important for us, right? I mean, hope. I had this wonderful during this time of pandemic. I got a chance to really read a lot of books, And there's this one author that because usually in life you're always running around and doing all sorts of stuff and busy, right? And although this was a challenging time for all of us, it caused many of us to just sit still, which is kind of hard for a person like me, right? But when I was sitting still, I was able to use that time to read and to learn about myself, to reflect, to connect to people like you guys, to connect to all sorts of folks, right? Well, one of the authors that I connected was with this author named Edith Eger, and she had this wonderful definition of hope. She said she's a Holocaust survivor, and when she said that hope helps us to endure the present. Hope's not like wishful thinking. It helps us to endure the present, what the challenge that we're going to right now. And then hope also engenders curiosity. Hope helps us to accept what's happening, and then like to see, okay, this is happening, but there's something that's yet to come, and then to be curious about it. To be curious, and then you find joy, in the curiosity. And so I think that's what our church is all about. Our Christ Church, what we've been doing, it's like, I'll tell you, and Ben knows, I mean, about a year ago this time, I was anxious. I was not knowing what's going to happen, right? In this, we're just coming out of the Lenten period. And one of the things about Lent that we a liturgical church like ours really appreciates is that we're in this wilderness period where we don't know what's going to happen. But what we do know is that God is present with us. So somehow, and that's our hope, somehow everything will be okay. And it'll be different, but it'll be okay. And so what we did was we knew it was going to be okay. Although I was filled with anxiety, people like Ben and Caswell Cook and Betsy Rice, they had a lot more faith than I did at that time, I think. And what I learned through that thing was we need to lean in. Even though this is a time of great challenge, we can't run away from it. We just lean into it, find out, learn what we can, and be curious about it. And out of that curiosity, we have a lot of really wonderful ministries and connections that happen. You came on, we connected to you.
That's true. I wasn't really a church going guy until the events of this past year, and through the digital ministry managed to connect with Christ Episcopal Church. Speaking of your ministry, can you tell us about this past year, what the pastoral aspect of your ministry has been like? It must have been so difficult.
Yeah, there were some really difficult moments. I mean, Ben talked about his mother passing away at Christmas. I mean, that's we're mourning and grieving with Ben, but then also, he knew that he was not alone, right? And then there's so many people that I've had burials that we just couldn't celebrate the ministry of life with people the way we used to. We've also had baptisms too, and we've had weddings also. And so it's like, you run the whole gamut. But one of the great things that, you run the whole gamut. And the thing is, it's been tough, right? But there are new ways to connect. And we're looking forward to like this idea that, every funeral that I did, I mean, I must have done about 20 of them, right? Just burials, right? Where these are funerals that, where we'd have people, gather afterwards, and then there would be sharing and kind of like, a part of the mourning experience is kind of that helps you accept and then helps you to move forward. We haven't had that type of collective mourning. And so I keep telling these folks, that once we get to this point where we could sing together and be together, we'll have a celebration. Just remember the lessons of life that these people offered us,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's tough. It's been tough, but at the same time, God is always good. And even in this midst of this challenging time, there's a lot of good that comes out of it.
That's wonderful. I'm mostly Irish descent, and the Irish have a very particular um, funerary tradition of after the funeral when they gather. It's not a somber time; it is a raucous time.
Yeah.
Everyone tells the funniest possible story about the person who has passed, and yeah, the idea that some folks weren't getting that this year broke my heart, and I love this image you've evoked of after all this is over, something like that Irish funerary tradition can come out, and
Yeah.
we can all be joyful together.
Yeah. I'd love to hear a rendition of Danny Boy. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so you've seen the role, the methods of the church change over the last year or so, and I was wondering if you could just talk more broadly about what you see as the role of the church in the community of Westerly.
So, I'll tell you, so I'm originally from India. I was born in India, and I came here when I was about 4 years old. I mean, we traveled through many different parts, and then finally ended up here January 1st, 1972. But I still have a home back in India. My mother's a snowbird in India. In the winter she goes there, right? And then she comes back and she stays with one of her kids all over the U.S. during the summer. But so we still have a house there, and so every 2-3 years I go back. One of the things that I've learned about that experience, and it translates actually to the experience in Westerly. The church has traditionally, over 2,000 years, been a source of cultural and social uh, revival and joy and hope. It becomes a center and so I always believe that the church has to engage in the community, has to be there. I mean, not to proselytize and make everyone Christian, but to help the world be a better place. And so, I imagine with all the other houses of faith that we have, um, just an engagement in community where we help the community, help each other to be the kingdom of God, which is, an ideal that we all strive for, a just and humane and loving society.
Wow. I mean, that feeds so well into this idea of a rebirth coming, but it's also a continual rebirth that you hinted at there as the role of the church in the community, a constant renewal. That's so wonderful. But you've been the rector of Christ Episcopal Church, but you've also just been a resident of Westerly.
Yeah.
I don't know for how long, but I want you to tell us about your experience here in Westerly, just as Sunil.
Yeah, it's so. Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's so hard for me not to wear the collar. It forces me not to wear the collar, but it's a good thing because it's moving my mind.
I said you could wear the collar or not wear the collar for this.
You did. I know. You did. No, I didn't mean to put that. But I mean, so what it is like it's hard. I'll tell you, Mike, Michael, that usually the priesthood is so embedded in my identity, in my self-identity, right? And it's often hard to see myself as just, Sunil, right? And that's part of my experience here in Westerly. What happens is, I mean, Westerly is interesting because, it's a beautiful and loving community, right? But the experience I hear from many people who are new to Westerly is that it's often hard to get into being a part of the community and feel that embrace sometimes, right? For me, I was being the priest in a really prominent church in our community. I was already accepted just by being the priest, and so I had this whole community of people, and my wife and my kids and I always felt that love here. I remember that, when we moved here, we had our parishioners, like 60 to 70 of them would just helped us move from one place to the other, brought stuff to us. We had a housewarming. It was just amazing. My neighbors, one is from the Jen Corelli family. He said, "Look, I thought I had a big family. Who do you know?"
Oh my God.
And they all came, and it was great. It was really super. But so Westerly, my experience of Westerly is that it's a loving community filled with good people that embraced me. Now, I know that that's not always typical with many new people in the area. And so what I'm hoping is that we continue to be a welcoming community so that people outside could see the love of God that's embedded in this place.
It's a wonderful hope for this community. And speaking of which, we'll be stepping out into the sunlight pretty soon. This period will be coming to an end, but Westerly's hundreds of years old. We have a long future ahead of us. What do you hope for the future of Westerly?
Well, I hope that our Westerly continues to be a light that shines out into the world, right? I mean, we've got so many beautiful aspects of our community, our music tradition, the tradition of the beaches, and all that the beaches and the water offers us. I mean, we're situated between a river and also the ocean, and there's so much there. And then there's the sense of love that's embedded in this community, the sense of tradition. We love our monuments. We remember our elders in this community. All of those things are to be lifted up. And so I hope that in those areas we continue to shine the light. And yet, and then in other areas, I hope that we continue to improve. We still are a community that's divided in many ways. There are, cliques and people that gravitate towards one another only, and we've got to be able to mix more and be the just society that we hope to be. And then there's also poverty. There's the very rich, the super rich, and then there's the very poor, the very, very poor. And so the thing is, the idea is, how do we help our community come together so that we all feel a sense of love and embrace?
That's a wonderful hope for the community, a sense of love and embrace. Let's carry that forward, and let's make that a badge that we put on our chest as we go forward. And I'm going to give those last words to you.
Okay. I thought well, so well,
yeah, top what you just said, Father Sunil. Go ahead.
You know what? All right. I had this little, yesterday I got a card, right? And I got a card from, because people heard I was kind of ill, right? And this card, and in it was from Patrick Regan, and he says, and he picked out this little article thing, and from the newspaper, and I just love it, and I read it, and it brought tears to me almost. It says, "You mean so much more than you realize. People may not say it often enough, but you are absolutely someone who is seen and heard, appreciated and admired, and liked and loved. A blessing to count, a reason to give thanks, and a positive force in the world. That's you." I appreciated that Patrick gave that to me, but I turn around and say to all of you, that's you. That's you. You are so much more than you realize. God has created you wonderfully and beautifully, and you've had these experiences. Some of them are challenging and some of them are amazing, but all of them can be used for good. And do that. Use it for good. Use it to make the world a better place. Use it to make Westerly a better place. And I thank you for being you.
You did it. You topped it. Thank you so much for being here today, and for being the cornerstone of our community, and for just being a light a beacon that we could all sorely need in this dark time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys, both of you. All right.
Take care.
All right. I'll
Bye-bye.
see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
That was great. Always a pleasure to talk to Father Sunil.
Absolutely.
Mike, why don't you close us out? I would like to know a little bit to close us out about why you love Westerly so much and what your hope for the future is, and then you can end it on any way that you want.
Sure. I love Westerly because it is a place that welcomed me, welcomed my family. From the very moment that we decided to make this our home, every person we've ever interacted with has been welcoming and gracious and kind. And I would love for this community to get some of that back from us. I want everyone who has ever felt that kind of graciousness here in Westerly to give it back a little bit, and that will magnify and just explode. And this community coming out of this period of darkness, we're going to have a real renaissance. We're going to have a real rebirth. And when we step out into that light, it is going to be amazing. I can't wait to be there with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. I'm so happy that we're doing this show together. I like literally, we're gonna get to talk to a lot of amazing people in Westerly. We're gonna get to learn a lot of things ourselves about Westerly that we don't know. We're gonna be able to share a lot of news. All of that stuff is absolutely wonderful. But the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is just spending time with you, because you're a great human being, and it's really, really nice. So thank you very much, Mike.
Really, that's what this is all about. I just wanted to spend more time with you.
Yeah.
You thought we were making a show. I tricked you.
Honestly, this is a good trick because people will tell you this. Ask like Dave and Alan. Braden now does a show with me every Sunday morning,
Mhm.
and I think that it's just because I haven't been paying enough attention to him. Like, I think he was like, I have to do a show in order for you to talk to me, so I'm gonna, and that makes me sound horrible, but I think
You heard it here. You heard it here, folks. If you want to talk to Ben, you got to do a show with
do a
him.
show. You gotta do. You gotta do a show. I don't know. If you want to be on this show, send us a message. You can message me or Mike on Facebook. You can send us an email. However you want to get a hold of us, you can comment under this video and say, hey, I want to be on the show. Contact Father Sunil if that's how you're finding this. Like, he knows how to get a hold of both of us. Whatever you want to do, send us a message, and we would love to talk to you about your business, about your organization, about your collection of cans, whatever is what you do that like excites you and gets you fired up and makes you love what you do and love Westerly. That's what we want to explore, and that's what we want to talk about. So send us a message and we would love to have you on.
Let's do it. Let's meet our neighbors and make this community look forward to the upcoming year and really give a sense of hope. Let's see if we can do that. If we can't, hey, we tried, but let's see if we can do it.
Absolutely. We need a video. I haven't made opening videos and closing videos for us yet. We need one. So for right now, thank you guys. There will be a Facebook page for This Week in Westerly and all of that stuff so that you can follow it. But for right now, just thank you. Keep doing what you're doing, and happy spring, everybody. We made it through the winter.
Happy spring. Take care.